Hello, welcome back to another Akashic update. My name is Laura Mazzotta. I'm a holistic therapist of 20 years, an Akashic Records Channel, and the author of Holistic Mental Health. I love tuning in for these Akashic updates and sharing what's been coming through divine intelligence and presenting in the field, not only through myself, but through my clients and my loved ones and the collective at large. And there's such beautiful wisdom that comes from universal intelligence to inform us as to how we can more easily and naturally embody our soul's essence as we walk on this planet, as we interact with other people, as we make decisions, as we step into different layers of our lives and who we are. And I found that there's themes that come up. Every reader is going to tell you that. Anybody who's connected with universal energy is going to tell you that there's themes that occur at the same time that can be related to the cosmic energy, like the new moon or the full moon or transits of the planets, but also very much related to what we are meant to be shifting as a collective. And so this is the way, as we inform ourselves with this kind of information, that we shift our vibration, that we shift the frequency that we hold, that we shift how we show up and influence other people and really play a part in expanding the vibration of the planet and bringing ourselves into a greater level of collaboration and universal love. So today, I don't have anything structured planned. Today, I just kind of decided to jump on here on a whim and share some things that I've been journaling about and some things that I've shared in my paid containers that we've gone through some really deep energetic exercises on. But today I'm just going to share kind of what some of the takeaways from that, some of the aha moments that you can integrate into your world. So one of the things that has come forward is this concept of guilt. There's been a lot of guilt in the field lately, a lot of guilt and anxiety. And there's a couple of perspectives on this. So one is that when those emotions come up, they're really not meant to be attached to any stories, right? We create all this meaning around them and we get frenetic about what am I supposed to do with it? How am I supposed to implement it? What am I supposed to change? What does this mean about me? What does this mean in general? And does this mean I'm not meant to move forward into what I'm moving toward, et cetera? And we allow them to become seeds of doubt rather than what they really are, which is vehicles of transformation and vehicles of transport from this level of consciousness to a higher level of consciousness. And the emotions are coming forward right now because they are wanting to be seen and wanting to be shed. They're wanting to be released because they don't desire to get to that next level of consciousness with us. They just don't, they're not a match for it. They're not a match for it. And when we are fully aligned with 5D consciousness, and I'm going to do another video on 5D consciousness as well, if you want more information about that. But when we align with that, none of this stuff matters. Like, it's just not relevant. It's almost like silly, you know? And yet, as at the same time that it's kind of irrelevant, it's very informative for our human path to allow these emotions to guide us into this next level version of who we are. So you can see this guilt and anxiety come in, and then you kind of freak out and you create all this meaning around it, or you can have it come in and assign a perspective to it that allows it to just be like, it's just energy. It doesn't need to be called guilt. It doesn't need to be called anxiety. It doesn't need to be called resistance or anger or angst or any of the above, right? It doesn't need a label. It's just energy that's moving forward. And we just want to allow that to flow. We want to be present with that. Sometimes we need people to hold space for us while we do that. Sometimes we can just be in communion with spirit while we do that. And sometimes we can just transmute it like that, especially if you've been on this path for a while. So one of the things that's come up around guilt in particular is that it's really a cue to expand our capacity to receive. So not only are these emotions vehicles to get us to that next level and to really just allow them to flow, it's what we do with them that really dictates the trajectory rather than a natural energy themselves that's creating some kind of turmoil in our lives, right? Like we're giving them too much power. Okay. So what happens is when we're talking about guilt, that's really guilt coming in and knocking on our door and saying, hey, it's time to receive. You've been trying too hard. You've been giving too much. You've been working too hard on yourself, on who you are, on making things quote unquote right, on being a quote unquote good person, on being good enough, all of the things. right? It's time to just allow yourself to receive the good that's already in your field. We get guilty, we get anxious, all these things, because we're trying to create something, we're trying to create a feeling or a reality that we desire to step into, where we don't have to create anything at all. All we have to do is just receive what's coming to us. And so if I'm getting in my head about the guilt or the anxiety, I'm not in my body, I'm not connected to my soul, I'm in my mind trying to figure things out, trying to search. Those deepest truths, that deepest wisdom does not come from our minds, okay? And so it's really important for us to, when that guilt comes forward, when that anxiety comes forward, and this isn't as easy with anxiety, we can talk about that in a second, but with guilt, it's knowing that when that shows up, now when it shows up for me, I'm like, oh, okay, that means I'm not letting enough good in. And I know that the universe always, at all times, has good, has high vibrations, has opportunity, possibility right there in my field, waiting for me to be more of an open channel to receive it, rather than fixating on things that are narrowing the pathway for that energy to move through. Okay. So when it comes in now, I remind myself of that and I say, okay, I'm here to receive. I'm willing to receive whatever's in my field right now, because really what guilt ends up being is this, we could call it self-sabotage. We could call it an upper limit problem, which comes from The Big Leap, the book, The Big Leap. Excellent book if you haven't read it, where we are not allowing ourselves to receive the good, not allowing ourselves to realize like how powerful and amazing we can feel in that moment. Okay. So turn your palms to the sky, take a nice deep breath in, receive that universal energy. And it could be that you're receiving just from somebody in your field that's right there, receiving something, or just generally receiving from the universe, from spirit, just breathing it in. It's like a pattern interrupt, right? We're not allowing ourselves to get stuck in this guilt cycle. We're saying to ourselves, no, we're not doing it this way anymore. And with anxiety, it's a little different. You know, anxiety is much more of a physiological process as well. And it has been wired into our nervous systems since the time that we were tiny and way before that. So that's something that very often can require some physical movement or some somatic practices to assist you with getting into a space of receiving before you're able to fully receive. And sometimes that can take a little practice. That's something that we work on a lot in my vitality program. So we can chat about that if it's something that feels supportive. And you can also read about it in the description. There's a link in the description of this video. But the other concept that's coming forward is very similar to anxiety. It's this concept of the mind kind of flipping back and forth, you know, going from like one concept to another, this or that, up or down, left or right, you know? And it's wild because, again, like I was saying earlier, it's like these things that our mind does and all these decisions that we pore over are truly irrelevant at the same time that they are portals into our next level, right? And so it's like if you're aligned with 5D consciousness and you're looking down at this earth, it's kind of like, well, who gives a shit if you go left or right? Like, who cares, you know? But then at the same time, us being able to tune into the process that goes on in the mind and resolve that for ourselves is a gateway into a higher level of consciousness and a gateway into realizing that we already know the answer. The clarity is actually very accessible and very easy. And it feels that way when you shift into higher levels of consciousness. It's a palpable feeling. And man, it is so chill. It's so calm, so peaceful. So what you're saying here is like, okay, my mind's going back and forth. I witnessed that. I witnessed that my mind's going back and forth. I kind of witnessed it as like, you know, this debate that's going on between like the angel and the devil in my head in a way, right? Like if you want a visual. But you don't need to be attached to it. You're not in the middle of the boxing match. You're not in the middle of the spitting match between these two, right? What role do you best serve? And what comes forward around this is floating. This concept of floating is what comes forward. Allow yourself to float above the mind, to float onto a cloud above the head if you want, and look down and watch this going on. How does your perspective shift, right? Even just that separates you from attaching to this concept, right? I'm reading my journal as I'm looking to the left here. Because really, at the end of the day, what we do when we separate ourselves from attachment to this is we are relaxing our need to control and our need to have an answer and have a decision. That's one of the things that's coming up a ton lately is everybody's like, well, I need to know if I'm going to be financially stable. I need to know if this relationship's coming into my life. I need to. Why do you need to know? You don't need to know. You need to surrender. You don't need to know. You need to trust more. You need to deepen belief more in yourself, in the universe, etc. Right? And at the same time, we also need to relax the mind's need to be stable on one position. This little boxing match going on that you're witnessing does not have to find a resolution. There doesn't have to be an answer. There doesn't have to be a right or wrong or a one side versus the other side. We don't need to have a resolution of it to find one position to settle on. And I think that's what we get so caught up in. You know, your mind's going to wander. It will wander less and less as you continue to shift into deeper levels of meditation. Absolutely. If that becomes a devotional practice for you, your mind is going to wander a hell of a lot less. Absolutely. But until that point, dude, we were wired this way, man. Like our minds are all over the place, not to mention we live in an extremely stimulating world, right? So your mind's going to wander, but instead of focusing on the wandering and the back and forth, focus on the fact that it's always going to settle. That doesn't mean it's going to find an answer that it tells you, and it's going to have a resolution that you now know, and then you can go do X, Y, and Z with, right? It means that it has settled down. It's going to come back to center. It always will. You wouldn't be able to ever sleep at night. And I know there's probably a lot of you that have trouble sleeping at night, but you'd never, ever be able to sleep or take a nap or anything if your mind never, ever settled. I promise you, there are moments in time, even if brief, that your mind has been settled. You may not remember them. You may not feel them, but I promise you that's the case. So it's finding those gaps. It's knowing that they're there. It's having faith in the fact that they're there and trusting your mind, accepting its natural nature, and deepening your connection to your soul, deepening your connection to higher levels of consciousness, aligning more with that on the regular, so that your perspective is one of non-attachment to all of this drama that can go on here. Okay. I want to see what else is coming up here to share. The other thing is just this whole gamut of emotions. There was a lot of karmic energy that was shifted from this last new moon that we just experienced a few days ago at the time of this recording. And we had a shift in the north and south nodes, and we're really shifting more into a higher level of independence. And what that requires is releasing a lot of karmic energy, or having all this karmic contracts and belief systems come up to be seen, so that we know, all right, like this is ready to kind of shift into a different form. And so a lot of feelings can come with that. And there's been a lot of people experiencing a lot of feelings lately. And it's this very, very simple understanding of the fact that it's okay. Like, it's okay for you to feel a lot of things. You know, and I want you to realize that, like, when you bring that and admit that to the universe, to yourself, to God, to a loved one, whatever, it's just like, it's okay. It's okay. You're allowed to feel those things. It's not, why do you feel those things? Why is this happening? What's happening to me? All of this, right? It's just, yeah, I'm feeling all the feel. Like, I'm just in my feels right now, dude. I'm in my feels right now, and it's good. I'm still precious. I'm still so loved. I'm still pretty fucking awesome. In fact, I'm really awesome. So it's giving yourself permission, right? To just be, whatever's naturally coming forward is what is meant to come forward. And if you find yourself in your position where you're like, I just can't manage this, like, I can't take this anymore, I'm at my breaking point, I can't take this anymore. I've had a lot of those conversations lately. That's when it would be really good for you to connect with someone. Close loved one, coach, mentor, therapist. You can book a vibrational assessment with me. It's the starter place where we can get to know each other. I can read your field, start to offer you guidance for your unique path around, like, what's going on here? Where am I stuck? Because stuck is not a real thing. You're never actually stuck. We feel stuck, but you're never actually stuck, right? So let's see what else is. Oh, this was really cool concept that came up for me. This concept, and I'm seeing this a ton too. Have I said that like 20 times? This concept of passive acceptance and internal defiance. I see a lot of this, like, oh, well, I've accepted that my health is going to be this way. I have accepted that my finances are this way. I've accepted that my relationship is this way. And so they've done very genuine acceptance work. But what I see happening is that at the same time that this acceptance is coming up, there's also this like defiance under the surface that's kind of like, all right, I'll accept it, but you know what I mean? And it's like, that's not the vibe, right? We want like a deep, sustainable acceptance where we have fully surrendered whatever's coming forward. Like, I can say, oh, I accept that my partner, and respect and accept that my partner does not desire or does not have the bandwidth to provide this to me right now. And I can say, I accept that. But then underneath, I'm like, oh, I'm so pissed. Like, I can't believe that he can't give this to me, or that he's not willing to, or he's not going to do the work to get to where he needs to be, right? Like, no, right? Like, that's not acceptance. Acceptance is being like, he gets to be whoever he wants to be. Like, you do you, dude. You do you. And anything that I feel I desperately need and desire from you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with me. Right? Everything to do with me, because we are meant to enjoy other people on this planet, not siphon from them. Okay, so my partner can assist me with reminders and holding me as I'm reminding myself of who I am, my power, my alignment. But I am not relying on him to provide that for me. Okay, so it's realizing that as we accept, we at the same time also have to release attachment to the outcome, release attachment to that thing that we are accepting. It comes with both of it, right? Both things. And so then when we look at this internal defiance, it's kind of like you're having a tantrum. You're having a tantrum because your ego is releasing this attachment and this need that it is used to having fulfilled by someone else or something else in your life. Okay. And so with that, we gain sovereignty and we give ourselves space to tantrum. It's okay. You're allowed. You're allowed to have a tantrum. That's totally fine. You have space for that, right? You're allowed to have a tantrum, but give it space and then let it go. Fully surrender. Okay. Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to share with you. Like I said, I didn't make notes on this live. I just wanted to jump on. There was one other thing I wanted to share that it just came up today actually for me that I just think is an important concept to share with the collective. And that's this concept of maturity. I read this thread on Instagram. Are you on Instagram threads yet? It's like all the rage. It's the new thing. So anyway, I was just reading this, this Instagram thread. And the quote was, maturity is the ability to prioritize values before feelings. And my first thought was, oh, I do not agree with that, right? And there were a lot of statements underneath it, a lot of comments that were interesting to read. But And I've read through them multiple times because I was just trying to come to an understanding of what the energy was around this for me. And what came forward really boldly is like, I really do feel, and I've said this before, that maturity is a judgment. Maturity feels like a judgment. It's like, where are you in your process? Are you mature enough? You know, it's a judgment. It's a label. And it's kind of like somebody said that, you know, you can live until you can live your entire life and always be immature. And it's like, well, who defines that? Like, who defines what immaturity is? Like, people say, oh, you're prioritizing values before feelings. And it's like, well, I actually choose to prioritize I allow my feelings, especially because if you follow human design at all, like, I'm an emotional authority in human design. And so I know that that is my gateway into my intuition and knowing what my values are. And so I am going to allow my feelings guide me into what I know deeply is right for me, and allow that to define my values. And I guess I understand what they're saying, like fleeting feelings. I think that's more of what they're referring to. Like, they don't want you to just have these impulsive fleeting feelings and then make decisions without consulting your foundational values. Like, I get that to a degree, but I have seen this concept posted many times about maturity, and it riles me up a little bit. And the reason it does is because I'm very passionate about this concept of the fact that it feels like a judgment, because we're all just doing us and doing our best, and we're exactly where we're meant to be on our journey. And, you know, I would love to hang out with people who are immature, if that's how you define it, because let's have some fucking fun, dude, right? Like, let's play, let's have some fun. And so I think that, the world takes things so seriously. You know, we take things so freaking seriously. And that's the conversation I've been having with a lot of people lately about money. Like, money is a very playful energy. It's a very joyful energy. It's a very fun energy. And we take it so seriously. We restrict it because we take it so seriously. And we like fixate on it and put these rules and conditions around, you need to show up and provide for me money and provide me with safety and do this and that, so that I can feel better about myself and I can feel secure and all of that. And it's just like, there's so many like rules and stipulations around it. And it's the same concept of just, let's just be who we are. Can we just be who we are, please? And come into acceptance and appreciation of where we are in our lives. And I understand that we all have I don't want to say, no, that's not the right word. It's like, we all have things that we define as struggles as human beings, dissonance, conflicting energy that arises, that we are being delivered to raise our awareness and understanding of the messages that we're meant to share and the things that we're meant to embody, so that other people can also learn about themselves. So I think that, I think that the message here overall is just to not take things so seriously, not take yourself so seriously, right? Like, who cares if you're mature or immature? Who cares? Like, just be you and accept and appreciate that you are who you are in this moment. And that as you continue to meet yourself where you are, you're going to learn more and more about yourself, and you're going to continue to grow. Like, trust yourself. If you're watching this video at all, you have an awareness that's open enough to be able to receive what I'm talking about, right? Even if you don't completely match up with me on this discussion. So anyway, those are my random Akashic thoughts of the day. And I would love to hear any kind of feedback in the comments. You can definitely like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. I do tapping videos. I have a tapping playlist on my YouTube, and I also upload meditations and other Akashic updates as well. So I would love to be in touch with you. I would love to meet one-on-one and just get to know your unique energy and how the universe desires to create and move through you. And I will see you very, very soon on the next video. Bye.